Just a little reminder for our readers, please read slowly and be close to your microphone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our bi-monthly Foundations meeting of the Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. We are glad you are here. My name is Shayna, and I am an alcoholic.
And my name is Trish, and I am an alcoholic.
Let's open this meeting with a moment of silence, followed by the set-aside prayer. Set-aside prayer. God, please set aside everything I think I know about myself, the 12 steps, the big book, the meetings, my disease, but most especially, God, please set aside everything I think I know about you, so that I may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please let me see the truth.
And our preamble, Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group Mission Statement. To carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous through our group. To carry the message of the Big Book to treated and untreated alcoholics. To help them find the spiritual solution outlined in our basic text and join the first 100 to become recovered. There is no cure for alcoholism, but we can become recovered with the AA Big Book and the 1940 style Big Book sponsorship. That is the purpose of this group. May you join us on the road of happy destiny.
Okay, so from the preface, because this book has become the basic text for our society and has helped such large numbers of alcoholic men and women to recovery, there exists strong sentiment against any radical changes being made in it. Therefore, the first portion of this volume, describing the AA recovery program, has been left largely untouched.
We want them to know that alcoholism is, what the solution is, and how to take the action that is necessary to avoid death or insanity by drinking. For example, to get from the problem to the solution.
Alrighty then. And I'm going to come in or have Terry and Lisa both unmute. They have both volunteered or been voluntold to be our readers and to be of service tonight. And we're first going to turn to the forward to the first edition, and that's found on page XIII, and was first published in 1939 and was introduced by stating, and Terry, could you read that entire first paragraph, please, and then we will dissect it.
Hi everyone, I'm Terry and I'm a grateful alcoholic. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. For them, we hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further authentication will be necessary. We think this account of our experiences will help everyone to better understand the alcoholic. Many do not comprehend that the alcoholic is a very sick person, and besides, we are sure that our way of living has its advantages for all.
Thank you. And could you reread just the first sentence, please? Terry.
Sure. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body.
That first sentence tells us who authored the basic text for Alcoholics Anonymous.
And now I can bring Lisa in. Lisa, will you read the second line?
To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book.
The second sentence tells us why they went to the trouble to publish the basic text.
And Terry, read the third line, please.
For them, we hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further authentication will be necessary.
The third sentence suggests the Big Book is all we will ever need to be successful in sobriety.
And Lisa, will you read the fourth and fifth lines, please?
Sure. We think this account of our experiences will help everyone to better understand the alcoholic. Many do not comprehend that the alcoholic is a very sick person.
Thank you. The fourth and fifth sentences tell us that the Big Book is also for those that care about us.
And Terry, read the sixth line, please.
And besides, we're sure that our way of living has its advantages for all.
Thank you. The sixth sentence is supported by the fact that the Big Book has given birth to over 200 anonymous fellowships that have nothing to do with drinking.
Our Roman numeral page numbers will be from the fourth edition. Pages in the third edition will be one page earlier. So now turning to page XIV, the only requirement for membership is an honest desire to stop drinking. Traditions 3 and 5. We have lost our understanding of honest by the time we decide to come to AA. So that requirement has been eliminated. But if a person is serious about living sober, they better have an honest desire to stop drinking and be willing to follow the directions in the Big Book.
The foreword to the second edition gives a historical account of the first 20 years of our history, how Bill found Dr. Bob, how they got busy looking for other alcoholics to try to help, how their success attracted the attention of some of our leading citizens, how we received some very favorable publicity, Jack Alexander's article, how the onslaught of new prospects forced Bill to develop the traditions, and then we hammer out the statement on page XX.
Of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapses, and among the remainder of those who stayed on with AA showed improvement. Other thousands came to a few AA meetings and at first decided they didn't want the program. But great numbers of these, about 2 out of 3, began to return as time passed. So about 75% or more got sober and remained that way. In the early 1940s, the Cleveland groups were running at 92% success rate due to using Big Book sponsorship.
Then Bill published the 12 and 12 in 1953, and by 1965 our success rate had dropped to 50%. Unfortunately, many newcomers are encouraged to try to use the 12 and 12 as their source of directions. Bill W. was the principal author of the Big Book and the sole author of the 12 and 12. On page 17 of the 12 and 12, Bill stated, the book, Alcoholics Anonymous, became the basic text of the fellowship, and it still is. This present volume proposes to broaden and deepen the understanding of the 12 steps as first written in the earlier work. By saying this, Bill indicates that the directions for the 12 steps are only in the Big Book, not in the 12 and 12.
Then, in the late 60s, we started discussion participation meetings that failed to stick to our singleness of purpose. So by 1980, we had dropped to 33%. The result of which we started ignoring the practice of focusing on our solution, and we drifted into group therapy. For recent years, our success rate has decreased to what what appears to be less than 5% for those finding as much as 5 years sobriety.
While there has been a dramatic change in our fellowship, the program has remained unchanged. Consequently, the 4th edition reads the same as the 1st edition.
All right, and going to page 30, our lovely readers. Middle paragraph, 2 sentences. I can't remember who we left off with.
Lisa.
Oh, Lisa. It starts with, we learned.
We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step in recovery.
In our heart of hearts, we must know that we are the victims of a killer disease before we can begin recovery.
And turning to the doctor's opinion, and Terry, you're up next. We're going to go to page XXVII in the 4th edition. And if you could read the first 2 paragraphs when you get there, and it starts out with, the doctor writes.
Okay. The doctor writes, the subject presented in this book seems to me to be of paramount importance to those afflicted with alcoholic addiction. I say this after many years' experience as medical director of one of the oldest hospitals in the country treating alcoholic and drug addiction.
Thank you.
We identify who Dr. Silkworth was and how he wound up at Towns Hospital, how his opinion opened the door for recovery. Until we understand a problem, we cannot find a solution. I use an example of walking out to my car, putting the key in the ignition, and the damn thing won't start. Problem. I can't sit on my butt and talk about the car not starting until hell freezes over. Oh, I can sit on my butt, and talk about the car not starting until hell freezes over, but that will get me nowhere. I look under the hood and I see that the battery cable has corroded. I know what the problem is, so the solution becomes very evident. I need a new battery cable, but that still does not solve the problem. I still must take the action necessary to obtain a new cable, replace the bad one, and now I'm on my way. Understand the problem, know what the solution is, and then take the action to make the solution a reality.
From the first paragraph on page XXVIII, we present the allergy, which makes us powerless over alcohol. And Lisa, could you read that first sentence starting with "we believe," please?
We believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy, that the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker.
The phenomenon of craving, which is the manifestation of the allergy.
The last paragraph on page XXVIII is where we find the initial information regarding the unmanageability, the alcoholic mind that cannot distinguish the truth from the false. Terry, can you read the whole paragraph, starting men and women?
Men and women drink essentially because they like the effects produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot, after a time, differentiate the true from the false. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented unless they can again experience a sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks. Drinks which they see others taking with impunity. After they have succumbed to the desire again, as so many do, and the phenomenon of craving develops, they pass through the well-known stages of the spree, emerging remorseful, with a firm resolution not to drink again. This is repeated over and over, and unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, there is very little hope of its recovery.
We carefully dissect the whole paragraph. First, what is the effect alcoholic men and women get from drinking alcohol?
Why is it so important that we have this spiritual event occur in our lives? Well, Dr. Silkworth said that we drink essentially because we like the effect produced by alcohol. What is the effect an alcoholic gets from drinking? When we alcoholics had a few drinks, we were amazed at the change in the way we thought and the way we felt. A few drinks produced an entire psychic change.
Let's go to page 83 in the Big Book and examine the 9th step promises by beginning each promise with the phrase, "When I had a few drinks." Read each line in the first person past tense. For example, the first promise would be, "When I had a few drinks, if I was painstaking this phase of my development, I was amazed before I was halfway through." So, Lisa, can you please start with the second promise?
When I had a few drinks, I knew a new freedom and a new happiness.
Did you?
I sure did.
And Terry, can you come in with the next one, please?
Yeah, I'm kind of confused on this one. After a few drinks, I will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it.
Okay.
All right, and so, Terry, we're going to do it when I had a few drinks. You're going to say it then in past tense, first person. So you would say, "When I had a few drinks, I didn't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it."
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. I know it's the first time. It's tricky. Did you ever come out of a blackout in a place you hadn't planned on visiting, with people you hadn't planned on being with, and learned you had done some things you sure wished you hadn't done? Because of the guilt and remorse, it was to be a secret? Then go into a bar and have a few drinks and tell some stranger the whole story.
I certainly did. Lisa?
When I had a few drinks, I comprehended the word serenity and I knew peace.
Did you too find that serenity and peace of mind replaced the turmoil with a few drinks?
Oh, yeah. And Terry, you're up.
After a few drinks, no matter how far down the scale I have gone, I will see how my experience can benefit others.
All right. How willing were you to share your life story with a poor drunk who had just had a really bad experience?
I loved to talk about how bad my life was. Lisa?
When I had a few drinks, that feeling of uselessness and self-pity disappeared.
With a few drinks, did you feel that you just might really have a purpose in this world and feel sorry for those critters who didn't have what you had, although you weren't too sure what it was that you had?
Almost every time. And Terry?
After a few drinks, I would lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in my fellows.
Did a few drinks make you a little more interested in people, especially of the opposite sex?
Can I buy you a drink, honey? Lisa?
When I had a few drinks, self-seeking slipped away.
Did a few drinks make you somewhat generous?
Drinks for everyone!
Yeah.
Terry?
After a few drinks, my whole attitude and outlook upon life changed.
Did a few drinks take you from a gray, gloomy day to one that was bright and hopeful?
From a shade of brown to rosy pink with just a couple.
When I
Lis-
had a few drinks, fear of people and of economic insecurity left me.
Did you enjoy being in the company of people sober?
Leave me alone.
Did a few drinks diminish your concern for your financial difficulties?
How am I going to pay all these bills? Think I better have a couple of drinks and figure it out.
And whose turn? Lisa, I think?
Yeah, I think so. When I had a few drinks, I intuitively knew how to handle situations which used to baffle me.
Did you too find that you were able to think much more clearly and wisely with a few drinks?
You bet. I had answers to questions that hadn't even been asked.
The unmanageability is clearly presented in the last sentence of that paragraph.
I will suddenly realize that booze is doing for me what I could not do for myself.
From the article, Ways to Stop Drinking, you can get some ideas of how we apply the information Dr. Silkworth proposed.
The newcomer is also reminded that they need be mindful of over-the-counter meds such as cough syrup, mouthwash, flavor extracts, etc., and that their healthcare providers should know that they are alcoholics, so the professionals will be mindful of what they prescribe. We emphasize that they themselves are responsible for their sobriety, so be honest with those who have a need to know. We should also all be aware of supplements and the ingredients listed. Just because it says healthy doesn't mean it's safe for us. Some of the ingredients may trigger the craving. Some supplements do contain alcohol as a soluble base, and no matter how long we've been sober, alcohol in any form can be deadly. It can be very easy to over-medicate when self-medicating.
We have now helped the newcomers understand the problem. We may breeze through Bill's story by looking at the events that describe the progression of alcoholism in his life. So, going to page 2, I think it's Terry this time. Middle of the first paragraph, count 10 lines down from the top of the page. Read one sentence, please. Though my drinking.
Though my drinking was not yet continuous, it disturbed my wife.
Lois is on his ass about his drinking.
And Lisa, going to page 3, the bottom of the page, the last full sentence, I began.
I began to be jittery in the morning.
Bill was beginning to be jittery in the morning.
And Terry, flip to page 5. The very first sentence, liquor ceased.
Liquor ceased to be a luxury. It became a necessity.
Liquor ceased to be a luxury. It became a necessity. He is lying about his drinking, hiding his bottles, etc.
And Lisa, staying on page 5, going to the third paragraph, and reading 4 sentences, please, starting with Then I Got.
Then I got a promising business opportunity. Stocks were at the low point of 1932, and I had somehow formed a group to buy. I was to share generously in the profits. Then I went on a prodigious bender, and that chance vanished.
Bill lost an opportunity to make some money because he drank.
And Terry, staying on page 5, move to the fourth paragraph. 4 sentences, please. It starts with, I woke.
I woke up. This had to be stopped. I saw I could not take so much as one drink. I was through forever. Before
He
that,
made up his mind to never touch another drop.
And Lisa, wrapping up page 5, in the 5th paragraph, read 3 sentences, please, that start with shortly afterward.
Shortly afterward, I came home drunk. There had been no fight. Where had been my high resolve?
Bill returned home drunk.
All right, and Terry, flip over to page 7. We're going to go to the end of the first full paragraph. Just one sentence. Starts with best of all.
On the first paragraph?
End of the first full paragraph.
Oh. Best of all, I met a kind doctor who explained that through certainly selfish and foolish, I'd been seriously ill, bodily and mentally.
Bill met Dr. Selkworth and learned what was wrong with him.
And Lisa, over to page 8. The first full paragraph. Read 4 sentences, please, starting with the word quicksand.
Page 8.
Page 8.
Oh. Quicksand stretched around me in all directions. I had met my match. I had been overwhelmed. Alcohol was my master.
Bill surrendered to the problem. Step 1.
We use the next paragraph to exemplify the simplicity of our program. One sentence. Terry, it starts with trembling.
Trembling, I stepped from the hospital a broken man.
And now the very last sentence. I was to know
happiness, peace, and usefulness in a way of life that is incredibly more wonderful as time passes.
Thank you. A wonderful life as the result of having taken the action Ebby prescribed for him.
And Lisa, flipping over to pages 10 and 11, reading the last paragraph on page 10 and the first paragraph on page 11, please, starting with when they talked and ending with I disregarded.
When they talked of God, personal to me, who was love, superhuman strength and direction, I became irritated and my mind snapped shut against such a theory. To Christ I conceded the certainty of a great man, not too closely followed by those who claimed him, his moral teaching most excellent. For myself, I had adopted those parts which seemed convenient and not too difficult. The rest I disregarded.
Bill's rebellion at the idea of a spiritual solution, identifying him as a hard-nosed agnostic.
Yes. And Terry, flip to page 12. We're going to go to the second paragraph. 2 sentences, starting with my friend and ending with conception of God.
My friend suggested what then seemed a novel idea. He said, why don't you choose your own conception of God?
The freedom and responsibility we are given to develop an idea of God that we can begin to bet our life on.
We then explained the simplicity of step 2 by the fact that Bill saw his own old drinking buddy, who was supposedly in the nut house for alcoholic insanity, sober. Both of them had been powerless over alcohol, but Ebby was sober and Bill was going to die. Ebby had found the power that Bill was unaware of. Ebby gave Bill hope, the beginning of coming to believe. From that hope, Bill finally became willing to try Ebby's plan of action. Again, the idea of step 2.
And Lisa, flip to page 13. The first paragraph, 1 sentence. At the hospital.
At the hospital, I was separated from alcohol for the last time.
Entering Towns Hospital on December 11th, 1934, going into DTs. Taking step 3 on the 3rd day of his sobriety. Ebby visiting Bill in the hospital on the 4th and 5th days to help Bill take the action Ebby had learned to apply to his life, the rest of which was a spiritual experience. Bill left the hospital on December 18th, 1934, at the end of 7 days, and lived 36 years without taking another drink. And we are here because of the action that Bill took, not the meetings he attended.
We now identify the meaning of step 1, powerless because of the allergy. Unmanageability due to the mind that cannot remember that we have the allergy. It can only remember the sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks.
Relieving the feeling of restlessness, irritability, and discontentedness.
Therefore, we are powerless over our body and powerless over our mind where alcohol is concerned. We are screwed.
And Terry, can you turn to page 24? Looking for the italics, squiggly lines. Can you read the second paragraph, please? Starting with the fact is and ending with the first drink.
Fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against the first drink.
Thank you. And now turning to page 43, Lisa, could you read the last paragraph? And it starts with once more.
Once more, the alcoholic at certain times has no effective mental defense against the first drink. Except in a few rare cases, neither he nor any other human being can provide such a defense. His defense must come from a higher power.
And I want to thank Cherry and Lisa for their service up to this point. You guys can go ahead and unmute, and I really appreciate your help in tonight's meeting.
Thank you very much. From the hope of hearing a recovered alcoholic tell their story of what they were like, what happened, and what they are like now, or reading the 44 personal stories in the Big Book, is the beginning of step 2. If lack of power is the problem, then a power greater than ourselves must be the solution. And we see that the recovered alcoholic has found that power. It takes no great mind to see that if lack of power or powerlessness is my problem, then a power greater than myself must be the solution. Once I can see that, I am faced with a very simple decision. Am I or am I not willing to follow the clear-cut direction for recovery? But I need someone who knows how to do this, also known as a sponsorship.
So the simplicity of step 3 is to turn my will and my life over to the care of the God of my understanding. I learn how to turn my will and my life over to this power by taking steps 4 through 7. But I need someone, a sponsor, who has a working knowledge of taking the steps as directed in the Big Book, who can guide me through this process.
To determine if you have made a good choice in sponsors, it is pretty easy to tell. If they suggest to open your Big Book or offer to read with you from page XI and study to page 43, that is a good start in diagnosing step 1. These 51 pages will get you ready to see if you are ready to move on. Look at the first sentence on page 44.
In the preceding chapters, you have learned something of alcoholism. We hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic.
It tells you why it is so important to be thorough in your study to this point. From this study, we can separate the alcoholic from the non-alcoholic, which is so vital to the success of your group and AA as a whole.
Now, take the test. If, when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely,
How many of you have promised you'd never drink again? Appears you failed to manage that decision, so your life is unmanageable where alcohol is concerned.
or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take.
How many of you cannot start drinking without getting drunk? It would appear that you too are powerless over alcohol. Step 1.
If that is the case, you may be suffering from an illness,
Chronic alcoholism of the hopeless variety.
which only a spiritual experience will conquer.
How many meetings must you attend to have a spiritual experience? Or how many steps must you take to have this blessed promise become a reality in your life?
Page 4 through page 57 will open the door for you to be willing to consider your own conception of the God of your understanding.
Page 58 answers that stupid comment we hear too often in meetings. I don't know how it works. The first sentence tells us how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. In other words, we need to follow the clear-cut directions in the Big Book.
The program of Alcoholics Anonymous is a spiritual program. On page 59, we will find the first of several prayers. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. There are one or more prayers for each and every step from step 3 through step 12, which reminds us that the God of our understanding is the source of our recovery. We learn to invite him to be the solution to all our problems.
On page 62, we are told what our real problem is: selfishness, self-centeredness. But we can never see it without some method of revealing the truth to us. So, we make a decision to do precisely what our sponsor suggests and announce that decision in the prayer presented on page 63. This prayer is the invitation to God to come into our lives.
One of the beautiful things about the Big Book is it will tell us when to take a step, how to take that step, what the results or promises of having taken that step will be, and provides us with the prayers that make certain we are inviting the God of our understanding to be very involved in our own recovery.
The last sentence on page 63 tells us that we now have to get busy and take the rest of the steps.
Steps 4 and 5 are diagnostic steps to learn that if what they told us on page 62
Selfishness, self-centeredness,
is true for us. The clear-cut directions for step 4 are found from pages 64 through 71, and there are 5 prayers for step 4.
On page 75, we find the clear-cut directions for step 5 and the 2 fifth step prayers.
On page 76, we find the direction for step 6, which is nothing more than a commitment to God that we will become students and practitioners of the rest of the Big Book. And there we find the 6th step prayer.
On page 76, we find the 7th step prayer, which is to be prayed after we have done our part of steps 4 through 6. Now we ask God to please do your part by making me different. This prayer is the completion of the prayer we started on page 63. This is where we find the Amen and finish the prayer. This is a cycle of 5 steps which started with the 3rd step prayer and finishes with the 7th step prayer.
On page 76, we will be most pleased to learn that if we have carefully followed the directions in taking step 4 through, that step 8 is all but a done deal.
From page 76 to page 83 are the directions for taking steps 9, and the 4 9th step prayers are there.
Having carefully followed the path the first 100 laid down for us, we have now had a spiritual awakening or experience and have joined the first 100 as recovered alcoholics. The 9th step promises describe that blessed event.
On page 64, we take the first action to recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. By the time we get to page 83, we have recovered. We have joined the first 100. We have been given the power that we lacked to survive alcoholism. Carefully following the clear-cut directions outlined in just 20 pages of our basic text produces the miracle of recovery.
We are now to start our spiritual growth, and that occurs in steps 10, 11, and 12.
The clear-cut directions for step 10 are contained in the paragraph on page 84, beginning with, "This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory."
A running start for continuing how to communicate with the God of your understanding is very adequately covered on pages 86, 87, and 88.
And now that we have received the power, it is our primary job to pass that on to the next newcomer God puts in our life. The clear-cut directions for sponsorship are contained in chapter 7. But you won't find the 12-step prayer until you have reached the last page of the basic text. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick.
So there you have it. So utterly simple, yet so garbled in our meetings. I challenge you to be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. The simplest guide that I follow in working with others is, if it isn't in the big book, they don't need to be exposed to it.
If you are encouraged to wait until you have a better understanding of what our program is about, I have one question for you. Trish, take it away.
How well did you like sex before you tried it?
Well, you won't know a damn thing about recovery either until you have taken the action of the steps, precisely as they were given to us.
And that is our foundations meeting. And now we're going to open up for comments and questions from the floor. Anyone who wants to make any comments, feel free to jump on in and do so.
Bravo, 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 bravo. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. So glad you
It's
came.
always a great meeting with you guys. I just love the interaction, and I love how you guys just, oh man, I can't say enough. I wish I could join every day, but work takes me away from it, but I love it. The interaction, and oh man, it's amazing. I'm hoping that Terry, and then I have another visitor that came on, Michelle. I'm hoping that they enjoyed it just as much as I did. Thank you, Trish and Jamie and Lisa and everybody for your service. Darnice, alcoholic. Sorry.
Thank you, Darnice. Xavier, hi, come on in.
Good evening, Xavier and Christine.
Bye.
If we could both share really quick. So,
Sure.
I'll note I'm in a lot of pain with work, and it's so good to go to a meeting. My wife has me working on a puzzle, so I get my head out of work. What an amazing, I really want to get a recording, in the future, or like a transcript, if y'all have it. I'd love to study it, because I love the way they broke down like the different parts of Bill when he drinks and how it progresses in his life. And I love the concept of this truly is a textbook. The more we can study it and then apply it and understand like what they teach us with the steps, I think is really important. My experience is it's not crystal clear how to do the steps or what the suggestions are. It's a little bit like law school. It's a little bit of hide the ball, which I don't mind. It's just when you get meetings, most people have no idea, for the most part, what it says in the big book and like how rich these suggestions are. Like there's so many things we can apply, and if we're willing to, our life gets dramatically better. And I do love any group that's willing to break down to the best of their ability, like these seemingly level hidden concepts, and just break it down to basics, like what exactly the big book's saying. So thank you for that, and thanks for allowing me to feel a lot more sober now. So that's all I got.
Thanks,
And over
Xavier.
to Christy. Yeah, appreciate it.
Hi, Christy.
Hi, Christina. Paula. So I was just wondering, I missed that part that you guys read about the sixth step. Could you go back to that sentence or whatever?
Let me find it, unless you find it first, Shana. Oh. On page 76, we find the direction for step 6, which is nothing more than a commitment to God that we will become students and practitioners of the rest of the big book, and there we will find the sixth step prayer.
I love that. That is awesome. That is such a nice summation of what it is, because so I have a kind of sponsee. We'll see. And I have one that's on 4 right now that didn't show up to meet this weekend. And like going over this, as Xavier said, like a textbook reminds me it's just not personal. This is just a process we can help other people go through if they're willing, but we don't chase them, and we don't browbeat people, and we don't have the answers. We just know how to guide people if they want it, and I was so grateful that he has such a strong program in knowing the book as well. I mean, I have a little bit, but just that, like, there's this newcomer that's just terrified right now. She's been in and out for like 3 years, and she's still doing the marijuana maintenance program. And so we were talking, and I just said, here's the book. And I turned to the pages, and I was like, here's the prayer, here's the step, here's what you do, here's the next part. And I just kind of went through it with her, through 11 and 12, and just showed her, these are the questions you're going to ask, this is the prayer, these are the promises. And then I just said, if you want to do it, let me know. And I saw her the end of the week, and I was like, how's it going? And she's like, it's going. But, it's like, it's so nice. It's not personal. Like, I didn't spend a personal energy telling her stories or trying to convince her to be sober or anything. I just showed her the book, and now it's up to her. It's her journey if she'll do that, if she wants to, whatever. So these meetings are so important because of that. Like, really knowing this literature so you can help people once you are sober yourself, and also just knowing there's an outline there to actually do sobriety. And like it said, we're certain this can work for you too if you're willing to do the work. And that's where I think, people that are really in the disease, it's challenging. Because my other one that didn't show up, she doesn't really think that this works yet. But she's not really working it either. She's got time to do all her life and her problems, but not AA. So, you know what I mean? It's like the more we put into our recovery, the better our life becomes. We don't put much into our recovery, our life's going to be kind of okay. It's going to be kind of like our drinking life, The happy, joyous, and free doesn't just naturally hit. It takes, going through these spiritual experiences, and changing our perception anyways, that's how I see the work. It's worked for me. So anyways, thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Christine. Glad you were here. Who's next? Or I'm gonna call on names. Hi, Jamie.
I'm going to go ahead and jump in for a second. Hi, family. My name's Jamie. Very grateful, recovered alcoholic, and everyone, you did a great job tonight. Thank you so much. We have been doing this meeting for almost 6 years, and my original partner in the Big Book study asked me one night. He said, "Have you ever been to a Foundations meeting?" And it's like, nope. And shared this and got hooked. And before he passed away, we had a chance to do a few of these, which has been wonderful. So Trish has put our website and our YouTube channel in the chat. Here's a great thing, folks. We record this meeting and the 4-step workshop every time. We don't have the slides that we use for the 4-step workshop, but you can listen to these in podcast form on our YouTube channel or Castbox. And the great thing about it, and here's what I love about this meeting. Newcomers don't know what to expect when they get to Alcoholics Anonymous. Hell, some old-timers are often asked, well, I never saw that before. I never understood that before. So what this meeting becomes is it becomes a catalyst into helping people understand how to recover from alcoholism. First, we define what alcoholism is, who Silkworth is, and then we start to show the solution. So what this meeting does is it gives me a bunch of great hot spots when I'm working with someone new to take them in the book and read with them. And I happen to be the kind of guy that really likes to read with people, because then we talk about all the parts that work around the reading as well. So whether you're brand new to Alcoholics Anonymous or whether you are somebody with literally decades of sobriety, this whole format and the way we do it is it's a great resource into carrying the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. So everybody did a great job. Terry, thanks for jumping in the first time here. And everybody, please come back and join us and continue to participate again and again and again. And Xavier and Christine, great to see ya. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Nancy, did you want to come in with anything?
Nancy alcoholic. Oh, I just have to thank you guys for doing this, because it's like it refreshes my memory on how the whole thing started. You know, because like you go through the big book, you do all these things, but in reality, it's like you do it, you dissect it piece by piece, and it's so refreshing to remember. You know all of that stuff, but you don't put it in front of you. And this is a way like to put it back in front and appreciate how this, how this life of ours started. And I really appreciate it. And I do appreciate you guys doing this every other month. And Jamie, I remember Rick, and yeah, I miss him too. He's such a good guy, and he died too young, and I love you guys. And it's like, you guys are my home group. You guys are like my family. I always look for, I mean, I know I get so busy sometimes, and it's like, but I try to come into this and the Tuesday, because I need it. I need the big book. And I like the way that you guys dissect it. And it makes me like look up the book in a more, how to show detail, you know, because like going to regular big book, you just do this and that, read the whole chapter and that. But this is like asking the question in itself and then putting that. When I had the first few drinks, it's like it makes me go back to like how it was used to be, and that and I can't forget where I came from. I have to remember it all the time because I have to keep it. Because if I forget where I came from, I might just go back out there, and I don't want to go back there. This is my life, and I love this kind of life. And I thank you for doing this, for your dedication on this program. That's it.
Thanks, Nancy. Donald, what you got for us tonight? Thoughts, comments, questions?
I love this program and stuff that you guys got me hooked on and stuff. I love listening to all the stuff. It's really abridged, concise, informative, and everything like that. It's everything that we actually learn in our big book study, but in just a very little dosage, just enough to get people more interested. And I don't know why we don't get more people here. I talk this up. I send out, Jamie sends me those things and stuff, and I send them to 20, 30 people every month. Fourth step workshop. But like somebody says, we can lead a horse to water, but we can't make them drink. If they're not ready for it, they're not ready for it. I know whenever I came into this program, I wasn't ready for it. And little by little, I started coming around. And I started getting more interested in it. I started wanting to help. Oh, I didn't realize my camera wasn't on. So, the presentation is wonderful. The questions, the way you guys present it is just amazing. And I'm thankful, that Jamie and his partner started this so long ago, and I'm glad I'm part of it since I've been here. So that's about all I've got. I just try to keep it going and stuff, in and out of these rooms, because that's all we can do. So God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Donald. I'm gonna go and jump in. I'm Trish, and I'm an alcoholic. And, and what's been said is exactly right. I had to be willing and ready to listen and hear what was going on before I came in, or before I was willing to do the work. My first sponsor, her directions to me were read step 1 in the 12 and 12 every day for 30 days, or until I tell you to stop. And that conversation never happened. If I really truly followed those directions to the T, I'd still be reading the first step every day and never would have gotten past that. And I almost had the darn thing memorized, but I didn't know what it meant. I had to come in and I had to find a group of people who was reading the big book, not the 12 and 12, to find out what the directions were. And not saying the 12 and 12 is bad, but I need the directions in the big book first before I can look at the 12 and 12 to get that expanded knowledge that Bill had so many years later. I love the way we do the promises. When I had a few drinks, this and this and this happened, and yeah, it puts it in a new light, and it really makes me think that's where I was. And if I wasn't there, I know that that's where I was going. And I knew that that's where I was going to be heading in my life. And I was talking, I talk a lot, but, so often in times we hear about, at other meetings, these are the promises, and they're never introduced as these are the 9-step promises like we do in this meeting. Because there are so many other promises riddled through the book. Some are in a full paragraph, some are a sentence here and a sentence there. But just like the prayers, it's not just the 3rd-step prayer and the 7th-step prayer that are in the book. There's so many prayers that are hidden within, but they're not really hidden. I mean, it tells me 25 times in the first 164 pages, we ask God. And if it's giving me the direction to ask God, that to me is a prayer. But I've got to find where those are, and the only way I'm going to find where those are is if I'm in the book, is if I'm reading the book, is if I'm looking at what is going on, and then starting to recognize. And, these are all things that I never would have recognized way back when. And, I love the paragraph from the doctor's opinion. Men and women drink essentially because they like the produced effect by alcohol. Or they like the effect produced by alcohol. Yeah, I can read. And that was it. From the very first time, I liked the effect. I liked the way it made me feel. I liked what it did to me. And I spent the rest of my drinking career trying to chase that effect. But then I had to come in here and recognize that I have that allergy. I can't drink safely. And I learned that through the doctor's opinion. But then this meeting, this foundations meeting, shows me that whole meeting, that whole progression between Bill and his drinking and his conversation with Ebby and his meeting Dr. Silkworth. And it gives me the hope that I can do that too. I don't have to follow his path. I don't have to follow his progression, but I can still find that recovery if I'm willing to do what he did and like so many other people before me did. And I'm going to stop there. Terry, would you like to come in and share anything tonight?
Wow, what a meeting. I got so many things running through my head right now. I don't know if I can form a complete sentence. This is my second time in AA. The first time I got a sponsor right off the bat, and he never told me that we were going to meet and study the big book. This was back in 91. He never told me I was supposed to call him. All I knew was I was supposed to have a sponsor. And I bought the big book at my first AA meeting and went home and read it straight through that night. Well, the first 164. And that was my education on AA, aside from going to 3 meetings a day. This time, fast forward to 2021, I actually got a sponsor and worked through the steps. And just recently got a new sponsor, and we started on the big book 2 weeks ago. And I hate that saying that meeting makers make it. Because you can sit in a million meetings, but if you don't pay attention and pick up what they're putting down, you just as well be sitting on the curb having a cold beer. I mean, that's my opinion of it. So I'm picky about which meetings I go to, and I really enjoyed this one. And I hope I can remember to come back. I'm going to take some notes on your meeting times, and I do have your YouTube channel bookmark. I think it's awesome you guys have a YouTube channel, because I watch watched a lot of YouTube, and now I got something productive to watch. But I'm just grateful that I'm sober today. I found out Monday that a friend of mine had passed on Valentine's Day. Nicest guy you ever want to meet. And somebody said that he looked pretty yellow the last time I saw him about a month ago. And he did like to drink. And then I found out, I think it was Saturday night or Sunday night, or Saturday night, that he took his own life. 64 years old. He knew he was at the end, and it was painful. And I've lost so many people to this disease. Alcohol robbed my soul. And I'm finally getting to where I can look at myself in the mirror. And it's a good feeling. So that's about all I had. Thanks for letting me share, and God bless you all.
Thanks, Terry. I'm going to make a comment.
Trish, I'm going to put this out there.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Trish.
I'm going to make a...
I was. Okay, you already know what I'm thinking, don't you?
I'm going to
Go ahead.
follow up on your comment of meeting makers make it. And, you know, back in the day, a meeting maker wasn't someone who showed up in a meeting and sat in the meeting. A meeting maker was the one who came in, made the coffee, set up the chair, set up the table, and they made the room ready for the meeting. So they made ready for the meeting. They weren't just somebody who showed up and sat there. They got involved in service, and they made the room ready for the meeting so that that meeting could occur. So yeah, meeting makers make it because they were involved in service. But I also like what it talked about in the middle of our script, or I guess towards the end of the script. We're here because of the action that Bill took, not because of the meetings he attended, you know, because at that point there weren't any meetings. So if getting sober is just attending meetings, how did Bill do it? Bill did it by sharing the message one person to another, sitting knee to knee, face to face, looking at each other, talking with each other, being there for other people, and taking those steps once they were written, and being available, not just sitting in a meeting on his rear and maybe sharing, maybe not. Jamie, I know you have something to add to that.
Meeting makers get drunk, and step takers become recovered from the seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. But that wasn't what I was going to say in the first place. What I was going to say is, because Terry said if he can remember. So here's a little known fact about Mr. Pickles. If my number's in the chat, or I think Trish put it in there, and if you send me a text, you will get reminders of the meetings all the time. And Trish, even though she's been part of this group for 6 years, still gets a reminder every time. So don't hesitate to use my number, reach out, talk, whatever. Always happy to be helpful. It's my job. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Lisa.
Hey everyone, I'm Lisa. I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I loved what he said, Jamie, and you know, when the part of it where you're talking about the success rate and how when all the groups and they become like group therapy, and it's so true. And so many meetings I went to over all these years. You know, that's what I heard. I mean, there were big book meetings, but you know, I stayed away from them. I pick and chose, and took the easy way out. Which, looking back, it wasn't. It wasn't easy. My life was a disaster, but I am just so grateful, and I love this. I love how, those promises. And I can remember the first time I did them, and I got really confused, you know. But I just love them, and the little add-ons, And, it's funny, and wasn't funny when it was happening. But yeah, right, yeah. I needed that comfort to. It was just to get away from my emotions, and yeah, and but I really love this, the way you guys do it. It's so very informative, and every time I come, I'm even more grateful. I mean, this group, Primary Purpose, and the Big Book study, it's changing my life. It's changing me. It's changing my perspective, and I just didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know because I didn't open this book, and I had them. I used to win them all the time. And I'd give them away. I'd always have one, but never opened it. I got the other books too. I mean, it was just, I think, to look good. Like I was doing something, and I wasn't. And, go to a meeting when my butt was on fire and sit in the back. And that was it. And that's why I couldn't get this. Doing the work and, talking about, I like that story about the car battery. And it's so true. Nothing happened for me until I started doing something, taking the action. And doing it the way it's says in the book, in the big book. I tried those workbooks, the fourth step workbook, and didn't do anything. I tried them in different treatment programs, or after different treatment programs. I'm like, I never stuck with it. But I'm just really very grateful, and I wanted to thank everybody, and thanks for including me.
Thanks, Lisa. Shana or Michelle, are either of you able to come in?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't even know what I'm talking through. I have an earphone in and the car connected. So, Shana, recovered alcoholic. Aw. I just got a message from Nancy. But recovered alcoholic, multitasking. Grateful to be here. Grateful for you all. Grateful to be asked of service. And
Mommy, I have bubbles in my throat.
When I was active, you could hear my kids. Bubbles in my throat. I could make every excuse not to be of service. But when now I could, I'm so busy, or I have this or have that. But when I was actively drinking and destroying my family and my people around me, I didn't seem to put that aside, So I figured if I could drink and do things, why not do recovery and do things? So that's probably the better option. I loved the first time that I heard this meeting. I thought, oh my gosh, I feel like this should be like in the booklet, how to do AA. Because I don't know if I would have understood it. Definitely took a few times to really grasp, what my disease process is. I just thought it was a drinking problem, not a me problem, an isms issue. you know, I like how it's so simple because if you're anything like me, you will try to recreate the wheel, make it so complex. I remember doing my fourth step. No, I remember not doing my fourth step the correct way, not as it explains in the big book, but finding the perfect notebook with the perfect pen, and then had to print out every other worksheet and then organize it in a binder that I really didn't do anything with. So I don't know if that resonates with anyone. Maybe just explains and it tells me where to go, and it gets us involved, and it gets us familiarized with the book. Not so scary, not that big old blue thing just sitting there, not open. So I appreciate this meeting. I appreciate you all and love you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. Hi, Michelle. Are you able to come in?
Me?
There you go. Would you like to?
Sure. Hello, my name is Michelle. Oops, I'm sorry. And I am an alcoholic, and oh my goodness, I have learned so much from this meeting right here. It's incredible. It's like, wow, everything from the car battery to I'm just like, whoa. The meeting makers make it, and then the meeting makers are drunk. So I'm like, whoa, really? So, yeah. This is a whole new perspective for me. My sponsor had me doing the BBA. And I thought this was going to be like the BBA, but it's not. I mean, I like how you did, after I have a couple of drinks, I this, and after I have a couple of drinks, I that. And I'm like, whoa, really? Yeah. Thank you for opening my mind to so much stuff here, you know. Yeah, I'll be back, and thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Michelle. So glad you came.
Mhm.
So we will go ahead and close out in our usual fashion. And what we do in this meeting, since we can't stand around the table and hold hands and pray out like we do in a face-to-face meeting or a bricks and mortar meeting, is we hold our hands up in the screen, and that's the way that we connect with each other and we pray out. We pray with and for each other in this room a lot. And we'll take a moment of silence for those still suffering inside and outside of these rooms, and we'll follow that with the Lord's Prayer. So here's your moment. Thank you. And who leads us from shame to grace if we let him? Our Father,
Our Father,
who art in
who art
heaven,
in
hallowed
heaven,
be thy name.
name,
Thy
thy
kingdom
kingdom
come,
come,
thy
thy
will
will
be
be
done
done
on
on
earth
earth as
as
it
it
is
is
in
in heaven.
heaven. Give us this day
Our daily
our
bread,
daily bread,
and forgive
and
us our
forgive us our
trespasses,
trespasses
as
as
we
we forgive
forgive those
those
who
who
trespass
trespass
against
against
us.
us.
And
And
lead
lead
us
us not
not
into
into temptation,
temptation,
but
but
deliver
deliver
us
us
from
from
evil.
evil. For
For thine
thine
is
is
the
the
kingdom,
kingdom,
the
the
power,
power,
and the
the
glory,
glory,
forever and
forever
ever.
and ever.
Amen.
Amen.
Keep
Thanks,
coming back. It
everybody.
works, but only if you work it. So work it because you're worth it.
Coming back. Thank you so much for this meeting. I
Glad to
love
see
you
you,
guys,
Nancy.
and I always
Hi,
look forward to
Denise.
seeing you all the way from LA.
Love you guys. See you tomorrow.